So let's take a look here. Boom. Okay. So I'm just going to review these strategies because look, if you've heard this before, it's worth hearing again. The best strategy, best 3 or 4 strategies with crypto is to, first of all, buy what you use. If you use Microsoft and Apple, then buy Apple stock because you know the product, right? You're familiar with the company, how it works, how it treats customers. And so when I presented this back to you, I think it was July or August, I said, listen, I buy Celsius, I buy Voyager because I use those apps, and I suggest that you do as well. The next thing is, in a sideways market, when nothing is moving, you have to buy and sell. You have to trade to make money. But in a bull market, now I've said this from the beginning, we are in a bull market. And in a bull market, you have to pick a few coins and let them do the heavy lifting. You don't need to buy and sell. Use the strategies to identify that we're going to talk about, to identify a portfolio and let them work. What strategies? Well, use what you know. And if a dip comes, you don't lose money unless you sell. And the best thing is dollar cost average. If you're in a bull market, just keep dollar cost averaging. Every week or every day or every month or every 2 weeks, whatever time period, buy a fixed amount. Just know that that's coming out of your bank account. Every week, $250. Both Voyager apps and Celsius allow you to do that. Of course, other apps do, but these are the ones that I like. I've been going on about Celsius even before we started this class, way back in April, I think, when Celsius was 12 cents. And I was lucky enough to get in then. I bought it 12 cents, I bought it 16 cents, I bought it 24 cents, I bought it 40 cents. Then I bought it $1.20, and that was the last time I bought. So I really believe in that company. The next strategy is buy what has proven value. Bitcoin, the big daddy, Ethereum, and other projects that are solid, that the technical, the fundamental analysis shows them to be solid projects. Things like Polkadot, Cardano, Chainlink. But also buy what shows promise in the horoscope. So this was the point of our class, right? Our class is crypto questions answered based on astrology. And some of you now initially, some of you were just asking about Bitcoin, and then you started asking about all kinds of other coins. And Kusama is one of those that looked really good in the chart. The next strategy, I'm going through this fairly fast because some of you have heard this, but some of you haven't. And if you haven't, I want you to just pause the video and write these things down, because this isn't stuff I'm making up. This is the most sound fundamental advice by the most experienced investors. And I'm sort of distilling it here for you, particularly points 1 and 2. The next point is a little more ethereal, but it talks about buying the sounds that work for your chart, like, P, or if you have J. I know that I've recommended Ziliqua to a number of you for whom the sound J is very good. And that was, way back in July, August, September, when I looked at your charts individually. Because that sound is good for you. And if the sound B is not good for you, like it's not good for me, then I would avoid Bitcoin. You don't have to have Bitcoin. You can have altcoins that are going to do well for you. It's just that you should have a little bit in Bitcoin because it's the big daddy, but you don't have to have all of your savings in it. And then we get point number 4 here. We get a little bit more interesting. This is something called asymmetrical bets. That means things that are likely to not do well, but if they do, they're going to go way up. They're going to skyrocket. So even if you put, let's say, 500 bucks into 10 asymmetrical bets, so you're spending $5,000, and 9 of them lose all of their value, which is probably not going to happen, but not these days. We're past the days of ICOs, initial coin offerings, and companies that come and then just take your money and go. We're past that. So it's highly unlikely. I mean, unless you own Yam or Sushi or something. Well, Sushi's doing well. So we're past that. But let's just say that 9 out of 10 lose their value. So you're out of that money. You've lost $4,500, right? 5 times 9 is 45. But just one of these has an exponential gain. It does 100x. Then you've made $50,000 minus your initial investment. Let's say 5,000. You've got 45,000 bucks, guys. That's what an asymmetrical bet is. You're betting on a little long shot that may do very well. And I've given some examples. Polkadot was, when I presented this, kind of a long shot, but it's become more of not a long shot. And here are some others. And these are the small coins. So put 10 to 20% of your portfolio in them. Put the rest of your portfolio into what I've just talked about. What did I talk about? Buying what you use, buying what has proven value, and buying what shows promise in general in the horoscope, and what shows promise in your horoscope. Okay, so put 80% in those, and then put 10 to 20% in some of these long shots that also meet some of these criteria, by the way. All right, and finally, we've discussed when and how to take profits. We've covered this in a couple of classes, but again, if you haven't seen this, this is worth going over. Losing doesn't feel as bad as missing out, and I know some of you are feeling this right now, but I have an antidote for you. Okay. For example, you invest $1,000, you lose $1,000. Okay, it's bad, but you get over it. Second example, you invest $1,000 and it goes up 100%, and now you have 2,000, and you take your money and go. However, instead of going down, that coin keeps going up, and that coin is now worth 100,000. You took your money out at 2,000. Even though you made a profit, in effect, you've lost out on 98,000. This, for many people, hurts a lot more, losing out a potential profit. Okay, so for that reason, we consider taking out your initial investment. So let's say you invest 1,000 and it goes up. Instead of taking it all out, take out your initial investment that was $1,000. Now you have 1,000 left, and let it go up to 10,000%. Right? So take your profits. We talked about this over a number of classes when it came to a few cryptos that we recommended that skyrocketed. Hey everyone, Simon back here again, recording this addendum video to the video I just sent you. And it addresses a question that I forgot to look at in the video, which is, so you sold all your Bitcoin, now what? So I think this is a real question for some of us. And I'm going to present you with some options and some things you can look at to do at least as well or even better than if you had kept your Bitcoin. So, in full disclosure, this is, I did this as well. I sold at about 13. And so I'll tell you what I've done, and I'll give you some other strategies that may work for you as well. So first of all, everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. And when I make a decision that doesn't seem to be working out, there is usually some mechanics behind it. I'll give you an example. Back in 2014 it was, I wrote some songs, and but I'm not a professional musician, so I paid a lady to produce my songs. I paid her $20,000. Now, this is money I did not have. I had to dig, I had to get a loan, I had to, borrow. And so this was a lot of money. This was pretty much everything we had, but I believed in the songs. And I sent her the money, and it turns out she was a scammer, complete scam. She did something. She produced something, but it was so bad. It was so different from what I had sent her that it was completely unusable. And so lost that money. That was it, gone. Just about a month or two after that, it just fell into my lap. I got the idea to pull a horoscope for a soccer game, Holland versus Spain. I'll never forget it, because it was such a weird result. The underdog won 5-1. Holland beat Spain, the world champs, 5-1. And I thought, there must be a reason this happened. And I pulled the chart and I started investigating. I started a process which led to the publication of Gambler's Dharma. But the short-term result was that within 6 weeks, I had won $25,000 back. And so in a way, I feel this is like God, the universe's way of saying, hey, don't focus on music right now. Forget about that. Focus on astrology. Focus on this thing, which is your life, which you've devoted your life to, which is your dharma. Okay. So and this is one example that this has happened, and this has happened multiple times in my life. When one thing gets taken away, if you stay open, if you stay loving, if you believe that you have a destiny and you have a dharma, be open to the opportunities that come in its stead. So I got my 20,000 back and a little extra just for my pain and suffering. Okay. And that was within a couple of months of that happening. Now, sometimes it may take longer, but I do believe that every person has it's in your chart, a fixed amount of wealth yogas, a fixed amount of, health yogas. And it's up to us to do our best to experience the upper limit of that, not the lower limit. But that you can't really stretch beyond it. If you don't have a bunch of wealth yogas in your chart, Lakshmi yoga, Dana yoga, special nadi yogas, if you don't have them, if you just have yogas for poverty and you're trying to be a billionaire, you're reaching for something that's perhaps not your dharma, and you're maybe reaching in the wrong direction. On the other hand, it doesn't mean you have to be miserable, that you have to live in poverty. You can still stretch your chart to get the most out of it, the most health, the most good relationships, the most, wealth from it. But there's only so much you can stretch before you break the chart. And so I believe, I have a certain quantum of wealth and health and all this, and even lifespan. Every single ancient culture believes we all have a quantum of a lifespan. And when that string is cut, the Greeks believed it, the Nordics believed it, the Vedic culture believes it, the Hawaiians believe it. You have a fixed lifespan. Now, you can make the most of it by exercising, eating right, being healthy, being nice to others so they don't hit you on top of the head and put you in a hospital in a coma for 20 years, right? This is all dharma. This is part of being a human being on this planet, is doing your best. And maybe you can even stretch it. Maybe your lifespan is 80, but you can stretch it to 84 if you live a really good lifestyle and you follow Ayurveda and so forth. Or you could do the opposite. You can curtail it. You can eat Twinkies all day. You could be mean to people. And then one day someone punches you in the face, you fall, and you go into a coma, and you spend the last 30 years of your life in a hospital bed. And you die at, 74 maybe. You've curtailed it a little bit and you've made it miserable. So not to be a downer here, but my point is to reinforce that everything happens for a reason within the scope of your destiny, of your chart. And I do believe everyone is born with a destiny. There is a Vedic verse that says, there is no flower or plant, there's no root that is not a medicine. There is no person who doesn't have a purpose, but it takes a lot of work and skill to find out. So the point of what we're doing with astrology is to find out what is our quantum of wealth, what is our quantum of health, and how can we maximize it to the max, like really push it. And then always open ourselves up to grace, because grace is beyond the chart. Grace can come in, and I've seen charts that I mean, absolutely, good relationship is just forbidden to this person. Like every malefic is on the seventh house, every bad influence is on the relationship chart. But this person was given an upaya by my one of my teachers, and that upaya was a very severe upaya. Not severe, like it was easy to do, but you had to do it for a year every day and not miss a day. And it involved keeping a plant alive in your house, so you had to constantly stress over. You had to water it, make sure no bugs got to it, no animals got to it. And after a year, the person got the relationship and is happily married despite her chart. So this grace is available, and you can even work for it. But that's another level. So what I'm going to talk about here is how to maximize our own chart. So you sold all your Bitcoin. You have to believe that there's a reason for it. Now, one thing you can do is allocate to other coins. That's the obvious thing. Okay, and we'll talk about that. Or you can earn interest on your USDC or USDT in Celsius or other app. We can talk about that. Or you can buy back in, even at 20K or above. You can say, oops, mea culpa, my bad. You can buy back in. So let's talk about these three things. Let's talk about, let's talk about buying back in first, because this is the simplest one. So what I did was I bought back in when it's like 18, okay? Because I did not want to be left with no Bitcoin. So I lost $5,000, right? I sold at 13, I bought back at 18. I truly believe that in the big picture, I bought one Bitcoin. In the big picture, when Bitcoin is 100,000, 200, 300, when it reaches $300,000-$400,000 valuation, that this $5,000 will be a drop in the bucket. Okay, number one. And that as we've studied in our class, we've done this live. We've looked at Bitcoin's chart. We do believe 2020, what was it, 2023, 2024, when Pluto conjuncts Bitcoin's Jupiter is when it will truly explode, when it can become something like a reserve currency of a country, and then go to 500,000, even up to $1 million. So if that happens, I'm not saying it's going to happen. If it happens, the Bitcoin reaches 300, 400, 500,000, you want to have at least one. Okay. So I bought back in at a loss, right? And I want to have at least one Bitcoin just hanging around, because most of the people in the world will never get a chance to own one Bitcoin. 99% of the population will never have one Bitcoin because it's impossible. There's 7 billion people and there's not enough Bitcoin to go around. Okay. 7 billion, and there are only, 18 million Bitcoin circulating? I think the math is astounding. No one person, not every person can have even, what is it? You could do the math, 1/10 of a Bitcoin, I think. Let's do the math right now. That's assuming you even have access to it. So let's see, 18 million divided by 7 billion. Yeah, it's actually 0.0025. It's 0.25% of one Bitcoin. So anyway, my point is that in a few years from now, we will be lucky to own even one Bitcoin. So anyway, I wanted to buy back in just to have it rattling around in the old can, and so that's one thing I did. Now, another thing you can do is to earn interest on it. So let's say you sold $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. You can put that, if you don't live in the United States, you can earn something like 13% interest on it outside of the US. If you live in the that's in the Celsius app. So something about 13% APR. Or 10.5% APR. So you're still making money on your money. So even if you're in the US, you're making, now that 10.5% is really something like 11.2 because it's paid out weekly. So it's really about 11.2 annual percentage rate. This is something like 13.5 or 14. It's higher actually. So let's say you're making 11% a year. If you live in the US, you're going to make $11,000 just by holding your cash, your 100,000. And then that's going to be, capitalized, and then you're going to, then next year you're going to earn on 111,000, and then and so forth. So that can build up very quickly. So at least you're earning something, right? You may, it's not going to be the gains that you would have if Bitcoin is soaring and if you held it, but it's something. So right. So that's the other thing you can do is put your money to work and do what most financial institutions do is they just earn percentage. 11% APR is no joke, guys. If you buy a property, and most properties you get, like income properties, apartments, they have a 6 to 9% kind of annualized return, and that's often not counting repairs and insurance and other things. So here you don't have to buy a property, you don't have to do anything. Your money's sitting there and you're earning 11%. Not bad. All right, what's another option? Another option is you can allocate to other coins. I hope this is interesting for you guys, by the way. This is something that I've had to really think about. And by the way, I've done all of these things. I've done all three of these since I sold my Bitcoin. So you can allocate to other coins. What other coins? Well, you can do something called asymmetric, an asymmetric bet. Put a little bit into a few projects that you think could outpace Bitcoin. Because here's the news, guys. From here on out, even if Bitcoin does 50x, 50x means it's going to go to $1 million, which we don't think it's going to do that soon. There are other coins that are going to 50x before Bitcoin. If you can find those coins or stumble into them, then you will have done much better by selling your Bitcoin than by holding on to it. Okay, let me say that again. If you can find those small coins and make an asymmetric bet and put $500 or $1,000 or $50, whatever, into one of them, and it goes 50x, like Celsius did, like a few other coins have done, like Yearn Finance did, like a number of others have done. Kusama, I believe, did it. It went from $1 to $60 or $2 to close to that. Then it will have been better for you. So look for an asymmetric bet. You can also look for, again, what we've covered. Now, I've covered this, so I'm not going to spend that much time on it. Let me see. All of these are on one presentation. Put it into other coins that you already use. Folks, I think Celsius has not reached its limit. Celsius could easily go to $3, $4, $5, $10. That would be a 5x. Okay. I think Voyager has potential. Theta has potential. We've talked about a lot of these coins. Polkadot is, I mean, It's ready. Polkadot is a coin that's ready to go. And it's still underpriced. Underpriced in the sense that compared to what Bitcoin is doing, it isn't performing in the same way. Next year, Cardano may have a decent run, but even Ethereum. So what I did was I put about, a good portion of what I sold Bitcoin for into Ethereum. So instead of complaining, oh, Bitcoin is going higher, I took action. I did something about it. I said, okay, maybe I can't catch up now because I'll lose some money. Why don't I put it into a coin that hasn't gone up the way Bitcoin has? And so I put, some of it in, put 20% of what I sold into Ethereum. I put 10% back or so into another Bitcoin. And I've put some of the others in asymmetric bets. So B here would be Ethereum and other solid, let's just say solid coins. Okay, that's allocate to other coins. So these are some strategies. And again, I would go over now. Oh, the third one is obviously buy coins. Well, here, now let's put that under number 2. I'm doing this live unscripted here. So allocate to what other coins? Coins that are best for you. Meaning, how? Sound-wise. And maybe have some other affinity to a coin, but particularly if that sound has worked for you, or you have a good history with that coin. I've talked about this before. I do not have a good affinity with Bitcoin, the sound B. It's bad for me. I do have a good affinity with S sounds. So Sia coin, Cis coins, Celsius, those coins have done well for me. And so why am I going to be a dummy and keep forcing Bitcoin when there are others that are also just, happy to double, to triple, to quadruple in the next few months that I can have equally decent gains with and know that they are good sounds for my chart, right? And if you maybe have a good history with a particular coin, that can also work. All right. And then, of course, the final way would be to, let's see, predict who is the next 50x to 100x candidate. And this is why I told you, check out people like Crypto Zombie. He has great he does a lot of research, early startup coins. Watch some of these other YouTube influencers that I've talked about. There's Crypto Zombie right here. And of course, he's a huge Bitcoin bull. Most of his stuff is in Bitcoin. So, but he also has, some altcoins that have done really well. Look at other influencers who also potentially can have good insights, and also listen to our podcast. And if it's worthwhile for you, if you feel we've given you some winners, and you've benefited, then consider that as well. Also consider the horoscope. Don't make it your only consideration, right? And you'll be able to allocate the funds that you sold in Bitcoin to other projects and do things with those funds that can, in the end, make you as happy or even happier. I think even happier than having held your Bitcoin. All right. So, guys, I hope this was worthwhile. Oh, and by the way, allocate to other coins could also be, or other projects. Maybe you are a musician and maybe, you had that one Bitcoin in there and it was just hanging on, and now you sold it at, like me, at 12, 13, 14,000. And now you have money to put together your CD. And now you can give your songs to the world. And let me tell you, if that is your dharma, you will make that money back and then some. You will start the path of your dharma. So whatever your project is, maybe use the funds that you sold to fund your project. And yes, you can keep hodling on and you can sit in regret and go, oh, but now it's 23,000 and I lost, $9,000. Baby, people have lost $9 billion before in their life, and they get up and they make it again. So I'm not, and I'm saying this for myself as much as anyone else. Put whatever you have, whatever profit you made, because if you sold, you made a profit. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sold, right? So you're in a profit. We'll use that. Possibly, this is the fifth alternative, to fund another project or to help fund. Maybe you put, $8,000 to make your CD, and the other 5,000 you put back into these little asymmetric bets. So you're still in the market. You're still in the game. It feels good to be in the game, right? But at this point, I'm just hodling, and I'm waiting for 2022, 23, 24. I'm not going to be buying and selling. Doesn't make any sense. When I know these things, a lot of these things are going to moon. And the ones that don't moon, they're going to fall away, and that's fine. I can use them to tax loss harvest. So, okay, guys, I hope this was useful. I know you're hearing a lot from me today, but there will be no class tomorrow on Friday. So I wanted to give you some material to tinker about, to think about over the next week. All right. Namaste, everyone. Bye-bye.